Alright, hello again everyone in AED 305 or anyone who is interested in producing videos for education. My name is Brendan Coyones, and if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you already have seen my first video on the very basics of cutting together a video in Premiere, and so now we're going to get on to actually putting together images, time lapses, making pictures and text fade, adding text over the screen, all that fun stuff. So we're back at my sample video, which I already kind of finished cutting together. I have it at the length that I want, and I have the footage that I want all cut together with an intro slide. So now we're going to get into the nitty-gritty and the fun parts. In the sample video that I edited, I explain what I'm going to be showing on the screen. So let's see what we have first.
Hello to the Art Ed majors of AED 305 or whoever else watches this video. This is a sample where I'm going to do some editing in a later video. So what you're going to see showing up as I edit it is some text in the bottom left here.
My bottom left, your bottom right. So right now I'll show you how to add name cards and other text-based graphics that maybe help identify you or make your video look a bit more professional. For example, if you're introducing yourself or a new person. Doing this is simple. I would click on the text tool just like I would have for my introduction slide, and then I click on the screen where I want the text to appear. So we'll say this text box is going to be a nameplate identifying me. So I'm going to modify this text box a little bit to make my nameplate a little bit more visually pleasing. And to do that, I'm going to go up to graphics. Remember, thus far we've been in assembly on our layout screen, but anything that you add onto a video, like on top, for example, text boxes, images that go on top, other things like that, are going to be modified under the graphics tab. Right now, I'm not going to worry about this top box. It's only this bottom box that I'm concerned with. To edit the text, I'm going to select the piece of text that I want to edit. I'm going to go to Essential Graphics and Edit. And down here, I have all of my options for changing what this text is. That includes changing the font. You can see here. It includes making the font larger or smaller. It includes changing whether it's aligned right or left, whether it's bold, italicized, and even whether it's rotated or not. Right now, my chief concern is making this text readable on this light background. So to do that, I'm going to scroll down to Background, and I'm going to check it for On. Now that just added a gray box behind my text. I can change the transparency on this box, make it very light or very dark. Let's say very dark for now. I can also add a boundary to this box, and I can increase that as much as I want, because it was a little tight earlier on. I'm going to say right there makes me comfortable. I don't like the background color to that box, so I'm going to change that, and then I should be able to shrink it down to the scale that I want. So I've just added a background to the text, changed the color, changed the opacity, and created a border around that background. There's other things you can do with these options, but I'm going to keep it pretty minimal for now. I'll resize that a little bit. And now thinking about it, I'm not sure if I like this font. So that's all there is to editing the style of a text. All you have to do is add a text to the screen, type in what you want, go to Graphics, Essential Graphics, Edit, select your piece of text, and down here will be all of these options for modifying what your text actually looks like. And again, I can move and reorient where this text is going to be and show up. But if we look down here into the timeline, that text still isn't where I want it to be on my video.
It is some text.
I want it to appear right there. So it's the same as mashing together a video. I'm just going to select the graphic, and I'm going to pull it to appear when I want it to appear. The last thing is to make sure that it's the length that I want. So once I have it popping in when I want it to pop in, I can change how long that text box lasts, so I can change when it pops back out.
And I'll show you how to make boxes for that text so it looks a little bit more professional and a little bit more visible. I'm also going to show you.
So I want it right there. And then that text box
visible. I'm also going to.
That text box ends when I'm done talking about it. And that's all there is to adding different text boxes that appear and disappear as you want them to. So now what's the next thing I'm going to show you in this video?
I'm also going to show you how to put images over the screen.
So a picture overlaying over your screen. This might be useful for you if you are trying to talk about an artwork, but all you have is a video recording of yourself. To add an image to the screen, I'm going to return to assembly. I'm going to import. Once I've imported the image that I want to use in my video, I can just drag it onto the timeline where I want it to appear, and it's on there. But notice that this image is far bigger than my viewing screen, my viewing window. So all I need to do is zoom out, selecting that image with the select tool, and then shrink that image down to the size of the screen so it's more manageable, so it fits within the frame. And that's a size that I'm comfortable with. So now I'll zoom back in to my video screen, and that looks comfortable for me.
Show you how to put images over the screen, like the one that you're seeing right now.
And I want the image to cut off there on the timeline. So again, just like the text box, I'll shorten this clip so it exits when I want it to exit. Now my video looks like this.
Put images over the screen, like the one that you're seeing right now.
Now sometimes you may not want an image to take up the entire screen. Sometimes you may want it shrunken down so it fits next to your head in a newscaster style. I would do that the same way I shrunk down this picture earlier when it was way too big for the screen. I use the select tool and select by double-clicking the image and then shrinking it down to the size that I want. Once it's the size that I want, I can just move it to the place on the screen where I want it, and then it pops up in a much more manageable size.
How to put images over the screen, like the one that you're seeing right now.
So that's two ways you can include still images in your educational videos. One is they take up the entire screen and cover your face while you're speaking, and the other is they're shrunken and they appear next to you while you speak, so you can see both you and the picture.
And after that, I'm going to show you how to put other videos over the screen in case you want to talk over a demonstration without having to actually record yourself talking while you do your demonstration. So that's what you should be seeing right now.
So that doesn't just have to be for a demonstration, that can be for any video that you're going to lay over your speech. I've imported a screen recording that I took with QuickTime of a tour of the Lascaux Caves. So I will add that to my timeline, making sure that I don't overlap any other media that I have in my timeline, or else those will get overwritten and removed, and place it there. Now, when I bring the video onto my timeline, notice that it has its own audio track that might interfere with my speech. This is where unlinking the tracks comes in really handy. So I unlink those, and now I have the video track recorded, but I want to delete the audio, so I select the audio, click delete. Now I have just this Lascaux video footage that I want to overlap my speech. But it's really, really long. It's much longer than my speech, so I'm going to need to cut this down. So I'll choose the segment of the video that I want to overlap this section of my video.
And after that, I'm going to show you how to put other videos over the screen in case you want to talk over a demonstration without having to actually record yourself talking while you do your demonstration. So that's what you should be seeing right now.
And I'm happy with this segment right here. So again, just like in the last video, use the razor tool to select where you want to cut your footage. And then these two are now separate clips. So I'll just delete the second one, and what I have is this.
And after that, I'm going to show you how to put other videos over the screen in case you want to talk over a demonstration without having to actually record yourself talking while you do your demonstration. So that's what you should be seeing right now.
Now, that's fine, but I also want to rescale this video so that it fits better within the window. So I'll shrink that size down. Not too small though, or else we start to see my web browser bar. So now I'm happy with the visuals, but one problem still. The audio of me talking about this footage on screen doesn't exactly match up with what's on screen. Well, that's no problem, because just as I can bring in a piece of video or picture footage to replace my face or what's on screen, I can bring in a piece of audio that is recorded from my phone or computer's audio recording app to replace what I am saying over that footage. Here's what that looks like, and here's what I mean. So I go to File, Import. I'll drag it to my timeline, remembering to drag it to the bottom half because the top half is reserved for videos and graphics. So I place it where I want to place it, but one last problem.
And after that, I'm going to show you how to put other videos over the...
As you can see, those two audio tracks overlap. So to solve that problem, I need to cut out this piece of audio from right here to right here. To do that is the same as to cut out a piece of video. I need to unlink these two because they're linked together, use my select tool to select the audio track, and delete it. Now it looks much more like this.
What you're seeing right now is footage from a 3D tour that you can find online of the Lascaux Caves in France.
So it's not perfect, but you get the gist. You can bring in video that you've recorded with your video camera, or using your computer's screen recording function, or you can use images to take up time on the screen, and you can lay those over audio either from your phone's video recording or from your phone or computer's audio recording function. Any combination of mashing together video and audio works as long as you know how to assemble them.
I'm also going to show you how to speed up demonstration footage into a sort of time-lapse manner. And there are two ways to do that. I'm going to show you the first one right here.
Okay, you heard him. One of the benefits of using video is that you can speed it up or slow it down to make the irrelevant parts of your demos go by faster. There's two ways to do this, and the first way I'll talk about now. You can simply use your phone's camera to record yourself in real time giving a demonstration. And I'm bringing in an example of that right now. So I'm going to drag and drop this simple clip of me giving a simple demonstration onto my timeline, making sure I'm not overlapping any other footage. I'm going to put it starting where I want it. So now I have this video recording on my timeline, and it's a recording of me demonstrating different materials for drawing. Since I'm speeding up this clip, I don't need to worry about the audio, so I will unlink it and delete the audio from this clip I just imported. And since it's a very long video, I'm going to cut out a small section. Now I'll show you what the clip looks like at full speed. So that clip is A, really slow paced, and B, it doesn't fit into the time that I need it to fit in. Remember, I want it to fit.
I'm going to show you the first one right here.
Over this audio. To fix that, I can speed it up. To do that, you right-click on the clip that you want to speed up, go to Speed and Duration. Now the speed right now is at 100%, meaning it's at full speed, but nothing faster. Well, if I increase that to, say, 1000%, it's going to go 10 times faster than normal. And now it fits about perfectly into the space that I need it to.
Do that, I'm going to show you the first one right here.
Now sometimes you may have one clip where you want some parts of it to be sped up and some parts of it to be full speed. Say for example you're doing a demonstration and one part is very important and kids should focus on it. Well, here's what I can do. If I want to save this portion of the video where I'm actually putting my marker to the paper for the first time, if I want to keep that regular speed, I can do that very easily. Let me show you. I simply find the spot that I want to keep full speed, and then I use my handy razor tool and cut there. So I separate that piece of footage from the rest of the pieces of footage. Then you click on the piece of footage that you want to speed up, right click, change the speed, make it 1000 again, and then simply use Shift to select both and move them into position. Now my video looks like this.
And there are two ways to do that. I'm going to show you the first one right here.
And that works for audio as well. So if I want there to be audio with this first portion, I can simply choose not to delete it with the rest of the audio. This is a trick that I've used for my Chirp Chirp Creations video. I simply recorded my sister and I making this drawing, and then made a cut in the footage before my sister and I high-fived, and made everything after the cut in regular speed. Now I also mentioned that there's a second way to make time-lapses, and that is by using your phone's time-lapse function or an app that allows you to take time-lapses. Because think about it, if you're taking a video of an entire demonstration, that's going to take up a lot of footage, whereas a recording with your phone's time-lapse function will not take up nearly as much space or be nearly as big of a file to work with. Most phone cameras nowadays come with a built-in time-lapse function, but those don't allow you very many options for the settings on your time-lapse. For example, how often a picture is taken, how fast pictures are displayed, etc. That's why when I make time-lapses, I usually use an app called OSnap. Whichever way you choose to go, the result is the same. You get a pre-made time-lapse that is already sped up that you just need to cut down to the right length. You can edit it just like any other video, moving it around on the timeline and cutting it down to the right length. Here's my example. Now again, notice this footage isn't the right size for the window, so I rescale it. Here's what my video looks like now.
And I'm going to show you the second one right here.
And this is just another way you can add interesting graphics and videos over your speech. So that's the basics of editing together different pieces of video, audio, and different photos to create a video that is visually cohesive and interesting. Before I move on to the next section, here's what I have so far.
Hello to the art ed majors of AED 305 or whoever else watches this video. This is a sample where I'm going to do some editing in a later video. So what you're going to see showing up as I edit it is some text in the bottom left here, and I'll show you how to make boxes for that text so it looks a little bit more professional and a little bit more visible. I'm also going to show you how to put images over the screen, like the one that you're seeing right now.
What you're seeing right now is footage from a 3D tour that you can find online of the Lascaux Caves in France.
I'm also going to show you how to speed up demonstration footage into a sort of time-lapse manner. And there are two ways to do that. I'm going to show you the first one right here, and I'm going to show you the second one right here. I'm also going to show you how to use...
So those are some tools that Adobe Premiere offers that allows you to make your videos more dynamic and visually interesting for a kid watching. Alright, what's next on the chopping block?
I'm also going to show you how to use anchor points.
I meant keyframes.
Much like you may have learned in your Art 200 Intro to Computer Art classes, to make text fade and other images fade, to how to make them move, and how to rescale them in real time so that your videos have maybe an image that you're zooming in on.
So what I'll be doing next is showing you how to use keyframes. This may sound complicated, but if you know what you're doing, it's not that hard. So first we'll make text fade. In the same way that I added text earlier, I'll use the type tool on the screen to write out what I want my text to be. Now I have the text that I want to fade. So I mentioned earlier not to worry about these tools right here, and only worry about these tools, which allow you to edit your text. Well, now is when we're going to make use of these. I'm going to look at the Graphics tab, and this is the graphic, or the piece of text, or picture, or whatever that I currently have selected. When I click that arrow, I get a whole lot of options for how to play with this text, from its position, to its scale, to its rotation, opacity, all of these. And all of these do something different. If I play with position on the x-axis, it'll move it back and forth. If I play with position on the y-axis, it'll move it up and down. If I play with the scale, it'll make it larger or smaller. If I play with rotation, it'll rotate the text around. And opacity is what I'm worried about right now. So if I reduce the opacity to 0, either by dragging or by changing the value in the number box, I can change how opaque or transparent the text is. If I change the text opacity, I can type in 75 here, and it changes the opacity of the text to 75%. And that's what that looks like.
To make text fade. And
now that's all good and fine if I want the text to stay at that same opacity. If I want that text to fade out, I'm going to have to play with the keyframes, which I can add by going right here to toggle animation. When I click that button, I've added a keyframe or a reference point to whatever place on the timeline my blue cursor is at. So since I'm right at the beginning of this graphic, I added a keyframe right there. But these keyframes are only really useful when I have 2 or more of them, and I'll show you why. So I have one at the beginning of this graphic on the timeline, and I can add one at the end by clicking on this little button right here that says Add/Remove Keyframe. Now what these arrows do is they let me navigate through the keyframes. So if I click the back button, my last keyframe is right there, and my next keyframe is right there. What I can do is, since I have this keyframe selected, change the opacity at this keyframe to 0. So remember, at this keyframe, the opacity is still 100, and at this keyframe, it's listed as 0. The effect that gives is to make text look like it's fading.
To make text fade. And
now maybe I want the text to start fading when I put my hands up. So I'll add another keyframe right here, and I'll increase the opacity to 100 again. So now this is what my clip looks like.
To make text fade.
Which matches up much better with my motion. Keep in mind that I can use these keyframes to play with any of these different options, from position to scale, etc. For example, I could add a scale keyframe at the beginning, move to the end where I add another scale keyframe, go back to the beginning, and let's say I make the text much smaller at the beginning. Here's what my graphic looks like now.
To make text fade.
So now that text is coming in a much more interesting way, and then it's fading out just like I wanted it to. Maybe I want to make my name card at the beginning slide in instead of just appearing. I can do that as well. by moving over to that graphic, selecting it, opening up the video effects. Just like the other piece of text, I can add keyframes, this time for position. I'm going to include 4, and you'll see why in a second here. So here's my first one.
Text in the bottom left here.
Here's my second.
And I'll show you how to make boxes for that text so it looks a little bit more professional.
Here's my third keyframe.
And a little bit more visible.
And here's my last keyframe. So these are the 4 keyframes that I care about to make the text slide onto the screen, pause, and then slide off of the screen. To make that happen, I need to select the first keyframe, where I want the text to be completely off of the screen. And I can either play with the settings numbers, or I can just drag on this x-axis number adjuster. So now that the text is off screen, I can move to the next keyframe, where it's on screen. The next keyframe, it's still on screen. So then I move to that last keyframe, and also move the text back off screen. Here's what the clip looks like now.
Some text in the bottom left here, and I'll show you how to make boxes for that text so it looks a little bit more professional and a little bit more visible.
So now, using 4 key points, I was able to move that text onto screen, have it pause, and then move it back off of screen. There's plenty of things that you can do with keyframes to make really cool animations on your clips. These are just a few of the examples that might be relevant for you. So keep in mind that while this works for text, it also works for pictures you put on screen, videos you lay over your screen, and anything else that counts as a graphic. Let's see. So let's take that picture from earlier. Let's say I want this picture to be at this top right corner at the beginning, and then to increase in scale to take up the whole screen. Well, with keyframes, I can easily do that. I'll start at the beginning and add 2 keyframes, one for position, one for scale.
Images over the screen, like the one that you're seeing right.
Let's say at that point, I want it to start expanding.
Like the one that you're seeing right now.
At that point, I want it to have finished expanding, and then I'll have it linger. So I've put 3 keyframes into this one picture. Let's go back to that first keyframe. Here's where it appears on screen. Here's where it's at the same position and scale, but after this point, it's going to start getting bigger. And then at this point, I want it to have arrived at its final scale and position. So then, since I have this third keyframe selected, I can change the scale and the location. I can do that either by playing with these 2 settings right here, or by simply using the select tool and changing the size and scale on screen. Now if I look back at my keyframes, the picture enters here, it's the same size here, and then by the end, we've arrived at the final size we wanted at. Let's look at what that looks like.
Images over the screen, like the one that you're seeing right now.
Okay, and that can have a variety of uses for making your videos more visually interesting and more engaging for students. But it's definitely more fun to watch than just a still picture sitting there in the top right corner. So keyframes allow you to do all of that cool animation type stuff relatively simply. The last thing I'd like to show you how to do is to use the effects options to create cool transitions between different clips. You don't need to move to the effects window to do this, as you can find these options underneath the same tab that you found Essential Graphics. Click on these right arrows here and click Effects. And each of these folders represents a group of effects that are already pre-done for you. Here's what I'll show you. Let's say, for example, I want this title card to fade more cleanly into the beginning of this video, because right now it's kind of abrupt.
Hello to the artist.
While that's fine, I can use an effect from the Effects folders to make that transition a little bit smoother. I'll go down to Video Transitions. Here you have a whole host of options for creating transitions between 2 clips of video. I like using the Dissolve options, and Cross Dissolve is what I most often use. You can simply grab the effect from over here and drag it to straddle the 2 pieces of visuals that you want to dissolve into each other. Now here's what that looks like.
Hello to the artist.
So it's a little bit smoother. But notice, since that text is separate, I have to apply the same effect up there as well.
Hello to the artist.
So now the text fades, just like the intro image and the sample video. This gray bar here represents how long that transition lasts. So if I want the cross dissolve to last as long for the intro image as it does for the text, I'm going to extend it like so. One more time.
Hello to the art ed majors of AED 305 or whoever else watches this.
And that's just one of the many effects that you can find under these folders. And that's just the video transitions folder. You can see video effects, you can add blurs and sharpens, you can add noise and grain. So that is another option for making your videos and visuals more interesting on Adobe Premiere. So let's take one last look at that completed video.
Hello to the art ed majors of AED 305 or whoever else watches this video. This is a sample where I'm going to do some editing in a later video. So what you're going to see showing up as I edit it is some text in the bottom left here, and I'll show you how to make boxes for that text so it looks a little bit more professional and a little bit more visible. I'm also going to show you how to put images over the screen, like the one that you're seeing right now.
What you're seeing right now is footage from a 3D tour that you can find online of the Lascaux Caves in France.
I'm also going to show you how to speed up demonstration footage into a sort of time-lapse manner. And there are two ways to do that. I'm going to show you the first one right here, and I'm going to show you the second one right here. I'm also going to show you how to use anchor points, much like you may have learned in your Art 200 Intro to Computer Art classes, to make text fade and other images fade, to how to make them move, and how to rescale.
So there you saw a run-through of all the basic things I introduced to you. First, we looked at more advanced ways to manipulate footage and clips on the timeline to make your videos look the way you want them to look. Next, I showed you how to use keyframes to make text, pictures, and even video dissolve, move around, and change size. Then I gave you a brief introduction to the Effects tab and the tools you can find there to make your videos just a little bit more interesting. So those are the three sort of sets of tools that I showed you for editing your videos. One last note before I end the video. Something else I'd like to note is that it's possible to record yourself giving a presentation via Zoom's in-app recording feature or using QuickTime or another screen recording software. For example, I can start a share, and then I can record myself giving my presentation or talking about whatever it is that I want to be talking about for the day. I can then take this recording, move it into my editing software, and make changes later on. So this might be a convenient way to record yourself giving presentations as well. Alright, I hope that was helpful, and I hope you're able to use some of what I shared today to make your videos just that much more engaging. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me. If you have any questions, you know where to reach me. Till next time.